Welcome to She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Angela Olfast, otherwise known as VoiceOver Angela. In this podcast, we talk about my adventures in freelancing, my voiceover business, and everything else in between. Let's get started. Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again today for another live Q&A session. If you're new here, welcome. We warmly embrace you. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some tips and tricks and techniques that I use every day in my own voiceover business. And I answer your questions in these weekly Q&A get-togethers. If you're not new here, then you know that every week we have a poll. And this week, the poll is regarding agents. So when it comes to agents, how do you feel about agents? You know, in this day and age, we tend to, more and more of us, I should say, tend to kind of go it alone and just stay freelancing with non-agents. But I do know a lot of people that do have agents. So me, myself, I do not and have not in the past over 5 years now. Never had one. Been thinking about it though, but I don't know. I kind of wanted to get your ideas on how you feel about agents, having an agent, getting an agent. All right, let's see what the poll is or where we are in the poll. So we got about 20 votes so far, 22 votes. 9% of you said I have an agent or agents. And 27% of you said not yet, but would like to have one. 43% of you said I'm not sure if I need one. And 22% of you said I don't want any agents. Now, because I'm with you guys. I'm not sure if I need one, right? Because as we know, there are a lot of different paths to get to where you want to be in any business. And voiceover is no different, right? Or audiobook narration. Yes, having an agent, and I'm sure a lot of voice actors, audiobook narrators that it started 10, 20 years ago would agree when I say that having an agent is a good thing because that is an additional source of work, right? But because of all of the platforms that are available to us, namely Fiverr, Upwork, some of the freelance platforms that are non-voiceover specific, some of those agents may want you to be exclusive when you sign with them. They may want you to be exclusive to them in a certain area, right? Which is kind of hard to do if you're on a worldwide, globally accessible freelance website, right? Where you're offering your services to anyone, anywhere. That might be hard to agree to or sign a contract to bind yourself exclusively to certain areas. Also, my understanding is from the people that I know, colleagues that are voice actors that have agents, seeing work from them takes time. You may not see anything right away, any auditions right away, because the agent is still getting to know you, still getting to know your voice, what you're best suited for, and you may not see anything for a while. And when you do, those auditions may only be a week, a couple of months, right? So with all of that, I mean, having an agent would be good too. Of course, it's an additional source of work. They're working for you, advocating for you, negotiating for you. So you have someone on your side that has your back. But how often, I guess, is what it comes down to. How often are you going to see work, and will they bind you exclusively to a certain area? And not all agents, from my understanding, will do that, but I mean, some will. So if you are considering getting an agent, I guess what it comes down to is looking over the contract and understanding what they want from you, I guess, is in terms of exclusivity and where that is, if it applies. and how big of a client roster, I mean, how far is their reach, right? So these are all things that just need to be considered, I suppose. For those of you that do have agents, could you share your experiences with me and everyone watching? That would be fantastic. Give us your take on having an agent or agents so we can kind of get a feel for what you're experiencing. That would be fabulous. All right, cool. We'll check back in with the poll in a little bit. For now, let's go and see who's here. Who's first in? Let's see. Matthew Russell is first in today. Good morning, Matthew. Matthew says, "Hi, Angela." Hi, Matthew. "Are there any free public domain sites that don't require such specifics as LibriVox in order to narrate voluntarily?" Specifics as in file format requirements? There are more than one. LibriVox is not the only one. I can never remember some of the names. I'm so bad at names. I should probably write these things down and stick them on my monitor. When some people ask me, I can answer intelligently. But there is more than one. But I think what it comes down to, your question, maybe file format requirements, and I'm going to have to say that most of them are probably pretty much the same because they want it in a specific format for so it can fit on a server. I mean, let me backtrack a little bit because these platforms have so much space in their server to hold all of this digital content, right? So the formatting is pretty much going to be the same no matter where you go. You know, a few variances here and there, but the file formatting is basically going to be pretty much the same because they don't want a ton of noise in the background. So they're going to want the noise floor at a certain level. They're probably going to want it at a relatively lower sample and bit rate so it can be compressed without sounding too funny to fit onto their server with all of the other titles that are there too, right? I'm assuming that's what you're asking about specifics. I hope I answered your question. Joya's here. Hello, Joya. Good day, everyone in VO land. Yes, good morning, VO fam. Matthew Russell then says, "Is auditioning for ACX the same as uploading demo samples for the site?" No, auditioning and uploading samples is two different things. Auditioning is when you're finding a specific title to audition that you want to narrate the book. You want to narrate this book and produce it as a full audiobook. So you're auditioning for the rights holder or the author or publisher to win the job, to win or to narrate and produce that audiobook. A sample is just a little snippet audio file, like a demo, that showcases what you sound like, right? And your samples should be individual books, not compilations or an individual style or genre or tone, right? And each sample should be separate. And don't forget to name your samples appropriately. When you upload a sample, make sure it's not like the title of the book or my demo or something like that, because it doesn't tell anybody scrolling through all the samples what it is. I know there are filters and there's attributes we can assign to it, but the title itself makes a big difference, and because that's what catches the eye when someone's searching for something, right? So name your title or your sample. If it's, for example, if it's a children's book, then your sample title would be, in my case, American Female Children's Book, something like that. So that gives the searcher an idea of what this sample is about or what it sounds like. What kind of genre is it? What kind of tone is it? Usually children's books are a little bit more upbeat, right? And what your accent is, and if you know, all of those things. Everything they need to know is in the sample title. But two different things. Eric says, "Hello, hello. I don't know enough about pros and cons of an agent yet." What I listed before is pretty much the basics. There may be more little, nuances, depending on the agency and the agent and, the area in which they cover, right? But that's, as far as I know, pretty much the basics. So those are things to take into consideration when considering getting an agent. Consorcio says, "Good day, Lady Angela and VO Public." Yes, good day to all. Mary HPVO says, "Hi, Angela. Hoping this Tuesday is full of VO work." So far, so good, Mary. I hope the same is for you. I hope the same. I hope for you it's the same. I need more coffee. Consorcio then says, not too sure I need an agent at this point. Perhaps once I've achieved some level of success on my own, I would consider the having an agent thing. For now, I believe the way to go is online platforms. You brought up another great point. I have found also in just scratching the surface of looking at agents that agents will want to see a CV of your work. They will want to see what you've done, right? So they can consider you as someone to put on their roster. So in the very beginning, if you're just starting out, an agent might not be something you might be able to get just because your portfolio of work is not broad enough or have enough big names on it or things of that nature, because they want to see that you are, perhaps in my mind, in demand, that you are good at what you do. Your audio is, you got your audio down pat. So that is something else to consider. So before you even go out to seek an agent, you want to make sure that you have a nice book of work, titles, if you're an audiobook narrator, under your belt, to show them that you are experienced, that you know what you're doing, that your audio quality is good, right? That you're flexible. Make sure that, I'm sure they're going to want to communicate with you, communicate with them quickly. Um, so we might have a little bit of work to do in the beginning before reaching out to an agent. So I brought up another great point. Yes, great point. Annie says, "Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well today." Same. I hope everyone is doing well today. Thanks for being here, Annie. Renee Smith says, "Good morning." Renee from Iowa. "Sorry, off-topic question. I just set up a new space in my basement I set up for recording. I was hoping the dB would improve, but it's still at negative 54 dB. Is that okay with NR? Oh, no, for noise floor, perhaps? There is negative 54. Um, I would say that's not bad. That's not too far. I mean, if you're looking for audiobook work, that's not too far away from negative 60. So you would probably need, depending on your DAW, if you have an equalizer where you can cut some of the low end frequencies out of your audio file, that might help you to get to negative 64. But if we're talking about, everyday voiceovers, negative 54 is usually not audible to the human ear, right? Depending on what, if it's I don't want to say it's definitely not, because it could be, but I would say you're not far away from the negative 60 noise floor requirement for ACX, if that's what we're talking about. So it would take minimal effort from that point to get to negative 60. So if your natural noise floor is close, which you are, I wouldn't worry too much about it. You could get there fairly easily without destroying your voice too much. I hope that answers your question. Rich says, "Angela, what should be included in a budget for a voiceover business?" In a budget for a voiceover business. In a budget for a voiceover business. I'm not sure what you mean. Could you elaborate for me? I'm not quite sure what you mean. My brain is going 50 different directions when you ask that question. Lisa Morgan says, "Good morning." Good morning. Good morning, Lisa. Kelsey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. From Dallas, Texas. Rich says, "An agent should only be one spoke in your marketing wheel." Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You should have lots of fingers spread out into the interwebs for your marketing purposes, right? Not just be on one casting site or one freelance marketing site, or, have a website, be visible and active in social media. If you have an agent, that's great, but also be on other platforms and casting sites and, be everywhere, basically. But again, some agents won't want you to be on these sites. So I guess if you already have an agent, they may not want you to be on casting sites, things of that nature. But if you don't have an agent, be everywhere, right? But Rich is right. Having an agent is only one avenue for finding work, right? And you shouldn't rely on just one spoke in that wheel for sure. Oh, we have a super chat. Sean Lester. Hi, Sean. Thank you for the super chat, Sean. I'm going on camping vacation soon. How fun! And we'll try to do work. Do work camping? It's very adventurous of you. Do you recommend using something like a Rodecaster or record directly into a laptop, iPad? You can. My concern is if you're camping, to find a spot that's going to be quiet enough. And it depends on what it is that you're doing, right? If you're in the middle of recording an audiobook, I would definitely not, because getting the audio to sound consistent through the chapters, if chapters 1 through 5 are in your home studio and then chapters 6 and 7 are out camping, they're more than likely going to sound a little bit too different to sound consistent. Now, if we're talking about just normal work, everyday voice like an IVR or something like that, maybe it all depends on what it is that you're using and how quiet you can get your recording space to be. But you can work while you're traveling. I use the Hero Zoom audio recorder, and then that you can plug an XLR mic into. So I take my Sennheiser, a little desktop, mic stand, my laptop, and my Zoom recorder, and that serves kind of like it's like a digital interface that you can record into, and you can record using that directly into your laptop, or you can record onto an SD card and then put that SD card into your laptop and then download it or upload it into your DAW. So you could do that, but my concern would be noise. If you're out like camping, I'm visualizing you out in a tent or in the back of the car, out in the middle of the wilderness. That might be a challenge, but hey man, if you can do it, kudos. That would be awesome. And while you're out there, get some soundtrack of birds and, the stream flowing by. Okay. Now, where did I go? Kelsey says, I agree, Rich. Yes, I agree too, Rich. Only one spoke. Anthony and Vivian Lanius. Lanius. I do this every time. I apologize. Good morning, Angela and all Angelites. Hope you're having a wonderful and profitable Tuesday. I'm still not in need of an agent. I'm still looking for my first gig. Yeah, I would say that getting an agent might be something a little bit further down in the road, right? For most of us. But go out there and get that first gig. Make it happen. I started to find in the very beginning for myself, I didn't just, stay on one place and hope that someone came to me. I went out and looked on Craigslist for, people looking for voice actors. I was looking everywhere, kind of trying to think outside the box to drum up some business. You can do it. Go get it. Pamela McDonald said, good morning. Not a priority. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same place. Scary stories to sleep by. Good morning, afternoon. This is formerly C.D. Williams, changed up my account. Just popping in to hang out with all you fine folks. Well, good to see you, C.D., and scary stories to sleep by. Love it. Keegan Kennedy says, good afternoon. What would you say that if you master the editing and understanding ACX standards is a good way to start VO? Meaning, are those standards transferable to the pay-to-play sites? Only if we're talking audiobooks. It's exactly how I started. I started on ACX and just audiobooks, and then I took my knowledge of audiobooks to Fiverr and Upwork. So authors could hire me on Upwork and Fiverr as well. And if you also have a firm understanding of editing, formatting audiobooks, you could also offer that service on Fiverr to other narrators who maybe just can't quite get it, right? They've narrated an audiobook, but they can't really get down the standards for ACX. They could hire you to edit and or format their audiobooks for them. That could be a whole separate gig. So, yes, you can transfer that knowledge to any other freelance marketplace for sure, because I would say most of the audiobooks I get now come from Fiverr. Authors are there too, and they hire me to narrate and produce their audiobooks on Fiverr as well. So yes, absolutely. Natural X Jasmine says, "Yay, I caught you live on maternity leave." Oh, congratulations. So I get to attend your lives for the rest of the summer. Woohoo! That's awesome. Congratulations. Rustic Hillbilly. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rustic Hillbilly. I almost called you Rusty. You're a rusty hillbilly. Kamikaze says, "Hello, Angela, listening while driving. By the way, my friend that took the high set passed and will be graduating Thursday. Congratulations. That's amazing. Good job. Congratulations. Everybody's clapping for you. Awesome." Kelsey says, "Angela, do you use Voquent? Asking because my audio has been approved and I'm excited to hear more about it from others who may have used it." I am on Voquent, but I don't do much with it, to be honest. I'm there, but I don't do much with it, to be honest. Um, and that's my own fault. I'm on like a lot of different platforms, but I'm busy enough that I don't spend a whole lot of time focusing my efforts on one versus another. I'm kind of at a point where I have enough consistent business from repeat clients and things like that, and people finding me off platforms. Like they'll find me directly just by a Google search and they'll reach out to me directly. So I don't do much with Voquent, but I've heard great things. I've heard great things about Voquent. So I would definitely put your profile and your demos there for sure. What could it hurt? Jessica Kent says, "Good morning, Angela and all. We always need more coffee." Agreed. Agreed. All day, every day. Can I say I really appreciate the services you offer? Yes, you can. Great prices, and I'm totally going to take advantage for my Fiverr gig. That's awesome. Perfect. Thank you for that. Yeah, you're talking about my services on my website. Again, I'm not about the money, so to speak. I'm trying to help as best I can, but I can't do everything for free. But it's not about, trying to make money on people to getting started. That's not what I'm about. A Simple Tailor says, "Hey, Angela, I hope you had a restful Memorial Day weekend." I did for the most part. For the most part, it was very nice. How was yours? How important are proposals when auditioning on P2P sites? Do you write any, and do they carry a lot of weight with voice buyers? I think so. I think when it comes down to it, we're people communicating with people. So I don't want to treat a potential client just like a job or just a dollar or just, you know what I mean? So when I'm auditioning and submitting a demo or a sample or, whatever it is, I always include a note. I always address them by name, thank them for their time in listening to my demo or my audition, and letting them know that this is my initial take and I am very flexible. I can vary up the speed, the tone, the character voice, whatever it is. They just need to let me know, and I'd be happy to work through this with them because it's a partnership. If we're talking audiobooks, absolutely it's a partnership. You guys are a team in producing this audiobook. So being open to communication and setting that expectation and that standard and that tone in the beginning is huge, right? No one wants to be treated just like they're a paycheck or, treated like they're, a piggy bank or a dollar or, you know what I mean? No one wants to be treated that way. So always, always, always include a personal note, a message, something to let them know that you are available to them, that you're open to communication and you're flexible, right? And thank them for their time. Absolutely. That's how I would want to be treated. Wouldn't you? Michael V says, my untreated noise floor is negative 54 dB, and I added a 90 hertz high pass filter and it brought it to negative 60. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. See, negative 54 is not a bad thing. MG Stevens says, good morning, Angela and everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Smiley? Is it simile? Smiley, simile. I've watched quite a few videos from you. Very informative and practical. I'm just starting into voiceover. This is an exciting and nervous path to jump in. Yes, relatable. Absolutely relatable. It's exciting, terrifying, intimidating, and all of the other things for sure, but gratifying and liberating and fun too. And welcome to the VO family for sure. And just, I can give you some advice from this point is just to have patience, give yourself grace because there's a lot of learning to do, but you will get there because you have a huge community of people that will put their arms around you and help you and answer your questions and guide you. There's a lot of people here in this community that are just open and welcoming to everyone that wants to join the family. So welcome. Glad to have you. E-Story says, just starting out. Same goes for you, E-Story. How do I handle quotation marks around a quote? I'm doing a nonfiction book. Do I say quote unquote? It depends on what it is. If you're citing something, perhaps, but usually if it's for a nonfiction book, I would say if it's something is in quotes, I guess it would really depend on what it was because now I'm thinking of a few different things. But I would usually just give it a different tone, maybe a little bit of a higher tone. I'm trying to think of an example. Like if you said it was like Tuesday, right? Like today is Tuesday, Tuesday. Just to give it a little bit of a different tone to set it apart, like it's in quotes, right? A little bit of a pause and a little bit of a different tone and a little bit of a pause to indicate a quote. But if you're maybe like quoting somebody, like somebody was being quoted, like a citation, you could say quote unquote. If you're really not sure, and this really goes with anything in an audiobook, if you're not sure, ask the rights holder what they want you to do, right? We had a question about footnotes the other day. Ask the rights holder. If it's something that you think is pertinent and relevant to what you're saying and not just like like a citation or something at the bottom of it, something that could be included, ask the rights holder. When in doubt, don't guess, ask the rights holder. It's their book. They'll tell you how they want you to handle it. Joe Voy says, I hadn't thought of Craigslist. I think it was I found a job on Craigslist for a short animation. It was a local guy just looking for, I think it was like a school project or something. It wasn't like a big paying job, but it was fun. It was fun and it was practice for me, I think it was like my second or third job. Look around, think outside the box. Sunny's here. Good morning, Sunny. I recently listened to an interview between a VO and his own agent, and the agent framed the question as, should an agent have you? Like, are you as a talent worth the agent's time? Yes, and I think that goes back to what I was saying about having a CV, because the agency is also going to be very proud of their roster, right? Is your audio quality up to snuff? Can you do what they need you to do or what the client is asking for, right? Does it fit your niche? Do you have the chops to do what you're being asked to do, right? They're going to want to hear your demos. They're going to want to hear the work you've done. They're going to want to see some longevity in there, that you're committed. There's all of these things that they're looking at you for too. So that makes complete sense. So just because you're an established, even a barely established voice actor, you can't just think that you can just go out and get an agent. You're going to have to solicit them, reach out to them, and probably engage with them a bit, give them information to prove that you yourself are worthy enough to be on their roster, right? Because they're not going to subject their clients to someone who doesn't know what they're doing, right? Is kind of what their thought process is. So great point, Sonny. Great point, Sonny. Keegan says, never thought of that. Thanks. The Craigslist thing? That's what I'm thinking. You're thinking. Getty says, I strongly wish to have an agent as soon as I book more gigs. Yeah, I think if I could find the right kind of agent, I think I'm going to look locally because I know I've got some agencies here in my area. I think I'm going to start locally and just kind of, reach out. I mean, what could it hurt? Reach out and make a connection and see, what the hubbub is. Give me the skinny, give me the rundown. How does this go? What do you need from me? And can we work together and just sort of go from there? And when I do that, I'll be sure to share my experiences. BB Homebody says, good morning, Angela and everyone. Coffee all around. Yes, BB Homebody's got the first round of coffee. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Simile says, that was like a huge hug. Thank you for this. I'm grateful. Good. I'm glad it was like a hug. That was my intention, was to give you a big virtual hug. E-Story says, great answer on the quotes. Thank you so much. Good. Sometimes I don't know if you've ever seen me live before, but I tend to go on tangents. So I'm glad that I answered your question. Right Tracks says, good morning, Angela and everyone. Working on my first book. Congratulations. And trying to give myself grace, especially with the editing. Yes, the editing is very, very difficult in the beginning when you're still learning your DAW. You're like, everything is in a completely different language. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just throwing this at it and throwing that at it. But it will be beneficial for you to reach out to someone in, like if you're in a Facebook group or if you're in like a mastermind group, if you're in a group of people and somebody is using the same DAW that you are using, reach out to them and ask them for tips. If you're having trouble with editing or getting to the file format requirements, it's worth asking questions. Ask for help, because this is an industry that is perfect for that, right? This community is great at giving help and soliciting advice and helping you. Everyone's got a hand outstretched. Here, let me help you. Tell me what you need, right? But be careful with editing, because we tend to throw a lot of stuff at it and then we over edit and then we just completely destroy the file. So a tip to those just beginning this process, if you're working on an audiobook, always, always, always keep a raw copy of your audiobook file. And if you make any changes to it, change the name of the changed file. That way your raw, untouched file stays. Because if you throw a bunch of stuff in the kitchen sink at one file, right, and it just sounds horrible, you completely destroyed it and you can't fix it, you can delete that and go back to the original raw file and start over again. You don't have to re-record the entire chapter. I hope that makes sense. Any tips for improving editing speed, or does it just come with time? It comes with time. Once you start to understand your DAW and you're using it more and more, and you start to find shortcuts and macros that you can turn into, buttons or shortcuts and things like that, it does just get easier with time as you understand more. And I still make a ton of mistakes. I still have a lot of editing to do myself, but I've gotten to the point where I know exactly where my edits are because I use a clicker to mark my mistakes, right? So when I'm editing, I just look for the sharp spike for the clicker, and then I know exactly where to go to remove my retakes, remove those. And then with Adobe Audition and the Spectral, I can see where breaths are or, any errant noises that aren't supposed to be there and remove those. So my editing process just with time just naturally gets faster, and yours will too as you learn more and more. So be patient, give yourself grace. There's a lot of learning, Dylan Holt says, good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Dylan. I'm sitting here with my, oh boy, sorry about that. I started to read the wrong one. There is a big push from narrators on ACX for all narrators to accept nothing less than 200 PFH. I'm new and don't feel right charging that much until I get more experience. Am I wrong? You're not wrong. I think what is happening is that, and I started at 50 per finished hour because to me, it was still more than I was learning. It was sort of like a paid internship, right? I was being paid while I was learning. Yeah, it wasn't a lot, but I was still getting something for my time. And I think the push that you're talking about, I haven't heard of it, but I can see it because industry standard is 250 per finished hour, plus even, more than that per finished hour. So I think if everybody's pushing for at least 200, it's to get, the expectation of the pricing of audiobooks to go up, right? So that makes sense, but ultimately it's your call. It's whatever you want to charge. If you want to charge $100 per finished hour, 125, 175, 150, 50, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with, that's fine because you're not going to be there forever. It might be your first couple books. And then once you start to feel more comfortable with it, then increase your prices. I did it. No, you're not wrong. Do what you want to do. It's your business. A Simple Tailor says, speaking of coffee, I'm sitting here with my Yeti mug filled with custom made Starbucks. Well, well, well. That's awesome. I might have to hit up the Dutch Brothers today. I'm a Dutch Bros fan. Simile says, how do you find your natural speaking tone after a multitude of projects or through feedback? This is whatever your natural speaking tone is, that is your natural speaking tone. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just be you. If you're talking about niches, what would be a good niche for you? Start with what you enjoy because that's going to come through in your narration. But you may find that you might be better suited for commercials or you might be better suited for the longer form stuff like e-learning and documentaries and audiobooks. It just, your clients will ultimately tell you what you're best suited for because that's what they will hire you. Like if you're putting out auditions, commercials, audiobooks, you're putting out auditions, whatever you're winning the most of is probably going to be the niche your voice is suited for. Your clients will tell you, right, by what they hire you the most for. But whatever or however you naturally speak is your natural speaking voice. Jessica Kent says, a lot of editing advice on YouTube is for music also. It doesn't apply to voice only. Found that out the hard way. Now I'm afraid to use any EQ. Yeah, I would stick with voiceover specific editing. If you're using Adobe Audition, I think Mike Russell on YouTube, Adobe Audition, I want to say he also started some Audacity ones and maybe even Reaper ones. I could be wrong. But he is really, really good at voiceover specific DAW editing techniques. Mike Russell on YouTube. Check him out. Sunny says at Dylan Holt, hard to tell with each individual. Right out of the gate, you could be over or under overpricing yourself. But it's impossible to tell without experience, customer reviews, and maybe a coach. Are we talking about the $200 per finished hour? Yeah. I would say just charge whatever you're comfortable with in the beginning. It doesn't have to be $50 per finished hour. It doesn't have to be 200. It could be anywhere in between if you want. But start with whatever because that's anything that you can do to relieve some of the anxiety of, getting your first couple of books under your belt is going to be worth it. MG Stevens says, Angela, I'm guessing it would be a good idea to get your own legal input before you sign a contract with an agent. Yes. Or are these contracts fairly consistent and basic? I, again, have never actually seen one yet. I'm just in the very beginning stages of even looking at who's out there in my area. I haven't reached out to anybody yet, so I haven't seen contracts yet, but everything that I have mentioned thus far is from what I have gleaned from other people or from online. So, but you're right. I think any type of contract would be best, thrown at your lawyer, your attorney first, and have them make sure that it's legit, and then do your research on the agency that you're looking at too, right? So due diligence all around, I would say, for sure. Scary Stories to Sleep By says, I think it's going to be a while before I have a good enough setup for myself to do paid gigs, but this channel has been a big help for my channel here. Good. I'm happy. I'm happy to hear about your new channel. I'm gonna check it out. Scary Stories to Sleep By. That's got my name all over it. Tom Stevens says, Hi, Angela. Hi, Tom. I have seen a few P2P sites refer to themselves as an agency. Can you comment? I think they are technically casting sites. They are technically casting sites. Um, I don't know why they would call themselves an agency, but whatever. I guess they're technically casting sites or freelance marketplaces, basically. Yeah, I'm not too sure why they would do that, but whatever. Orshal? Hope I'm saying that right. Orshal. Hi, Angela. By the way, my name means ear sonic. Oh, thank you. And just for an information, you suggested some time ago to use Isotope RX10 Standard for noise reduction. I think they are on summer sale 50% off. They were for Memorial Day weekend, this past 3-day weekend. I don't know when that sale ends, but yes, they were 50% off. So it'd be worth taking a peek. So if you go to isotope.com, IZ, just like it is on the screen, IZOTOPE, the RX suite of plugins, see if they're still on sale for 50% off. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. I am Paximus. Hello, buddy. Hey, Angela. Good to see you. I wish I could say good to see you. I don't see you unless I'm on your TikTok page. How are you today? I'm fabulous. How are you? I have a day off and I'm just joining in. I don't think having an agent is necessary, but can be helpful in many ways. Same. I don't think it's like a do or die kind of a thing for your career, but couldn't be a bad thing either, as long as you can jive with whatever the details of the contract are, right? And well, of course, they're going to take a percentage of what you get, but I mean, everybody's got to have their piece. The same could be said for the P2P sites too. I have just random information popping into my head as I'm talking. See, tangents. God. Daryl Hansen says, Hi, Angela. How important is it to have a demo reel for every genre? Do you need one for audiobooks? Do you need one for e-learning? Do you need one for every style? I have found different styles helpful in many circumstances. Whereas I've had a company that does e-learning only will reach out and say, hey, we're looking for, we really like your voice. We want a demos to show our clients. And then we'll put you on our roster kind of a thing. If they only do one thing, then you want to send them a demo that's relevant to what it is that they're asking you for. Or if it's a production company that only produces audiobooks, you're not going to send them a demo reel that's got IVR on it. Or character or cartoon character kind of things, right? You're going to send them something that's audiobook related. But if you want to have a demo reel for maybe a company that does all kinds of different things, then you want to have a reel that's got a little bit of everything on it. So do them all, right? I would say have a demo that's just very niched down in audiobooks, like a demo that's just children's books, a demo that's just fantasy or romance, right? And then have another demo that's a little bit of everything that you can do. So if a production house reaches out to you, have a little bit of everything on one demo. And then have a separate demo for e-learning, a separate demo for IVR, a separate, you know what I mean? Why not? I do. I have a demo that's got, all different types of demos. I should say. Do it. That way you have it handy if you're asked for it. Right Track says, oh, yes. Moving forward, I will definitely keep raw files saved. Yes. Would you advise to record chapters in separate sessions or keep all chapters in one large session, then separate files? Because you're more than likely, if a book is, 30,000 words or more, you're not going to sit and record the entire book in one session, right? So you might as well cut them up into separate files. because as you might experience as you go along, even if nothing in your room changes day to day, you still might have a slightly different sound in each file depending on, what day you recorded it on. So I would say this is what I do anyway. When I start a book, I always use the table of contents and break up each file. I have opening credits, introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, so on and so on. And then I just record, in the little time blocks that I have, these 3 files, and the next day these 3 files or whatever it is. And then that way each file has a little bit of room tone in it from the room sound that day that I can focus on to help remove any noise, if there is any, in that particular file, and then the next file, and then the next file. Because the sound, for whatever reason, could vary for whatever reason, day to day. So separate them into different files is what I'm saying. That's what I do anyway. Voiceover Van Deen. How you doing, buddy? Afternoon, Angela and all. Instead of staying local, try looking for agencies that will bring you exposure where you don't currently have any, i.e. agents with international offices also stay non-exclusive. There you go. Words of wisdom from Voiceover Van Deen. That's a good idea. I think I was thinking locally because I could go in to a brick and mortar place and talk to people. Right? I think is what I was thinking, that I could go in. But you're right. I mean, it's better to cast a wider web up front. If you're going to do just a couple, it'd be better to be more accessible in a wider area, right? I am Paximus says, embrace the tangent and stuff. Yes, and stuff. JCC AOL says, Angela, if you have never read Too Much Coffee Man, you should. It's a comic book, and I would love to do a voiceover if it ever became an animated cartoon. Maybe you should pitch that to whomever wrote it. Do it. But I'll check that out. Too Much Coffee Man. Yes, I'm writing it down. Too Much Coffee Man. Thank you for that. Whoa, just clicking away. Jessica Kent says, info on demo reels for styles was really helpful. So many great questions today. Yes. And that's why we do it. Because even if I come with a specific topic, other people have other questions. And if I get to answer those as best I can, then that just may help somebody else, pick up a little nugget here and there. So it's great. Yeah, ask them away. Ask them away. All right, let's do this comment and then we'll just hop over to the poll really quick. I'd like to see where it's at. Keegan Kennedy says, I love the tangents. You should call them Tangelus. No, we can't give them a name, because if we give them a name, then they'll stay. Well, I guess they already have stayed, haven't they? It's pretty much a weekly occurrence. Oh, okay. So let's check the poll really quick. And today, again, the poll was, when it comes to agents, how do you guys feel about these? Right now we have 53 votes, and it looks like 4% of you said I have an agent or agents. 28% of you said not yet, but would like to have one. And more than half of you, 55%, said I'm not sure if I need one. And 13% of you said I don't want any agents. That doesn't really surprise me, because I'm sort of in that same boat. I'm not sure if I need one. But it wouldn't be bad as long as the conditions of the contract fit for me, right? Like Voiceover Van Deen said, if the terms are non-exclusive and if it just makes sense, why not? Right? Scary Stories to Sleep By says, I have to take off, but thank you again for all that you do, Angela. Much love to you and everyone here. Yeah, same, CD. And I will be checking out your channel. Faux show. I think all of us should go over there and support him and subscribe. We support each other, right? Do it. Brian Cross says, hello all, and Angela. I'm new to the VO world, so I have not a clue about agents. My instinct is to gain experience first before I look for an agent, if at all. Yeah, and what I don't know how long ago you joined, but we were talking about Even before you even think about going out to find an agent for yourself, make sure that you have the chops, the CV, you have the work under your belt to even have an agent look at you, right? Because they're not going to put you on their roster if you can't do what they need you to do or what their clients are expecting, right? What they're because they're not going to pay top dollar for something that is not anywhere close to the audio quality they need or the performance they need, right? So it's going to just naturally take a while for you to get to a point where you're going to be looked at by an agent, right? And I think that for me, the reason I haven't looked for an agent until just recently, almost 5 years in, is because maybe that's a little bit of the imposter syndrome, right? What if I'm not good enough? I don't want to be turned down by an agent, right? But I won't know unless I try. So I'm going to go try and just see what happens, right? What could it hurt? Tom Stevens says, I also heard that agents are kind of a dying breed now that things have evolved in VO. That, yes, I have heard that too because of all of the online casting sites, marketplaces, all of these places serve as sort of, like was mentioned before, like an agency. It's the new middleman, right? So they're sort of taking the place of agents, but still having an agent wouldn't be a bad thing. But I have also heard from colleagues that I know that have had or do currently have agents that the work from their agents has slowed. But still, what could it hurt? Right? Barb Cam says, "How do you handle it if circumstances force you to deliver a project late?" Reach out to the client, whomever it is. Tell them that you've had something come up, an emergency. We're all people. We all get it. Anytime that I've had an issue and I couldn't deliver something on time, if we're talking about Fiverr, you could reach out to the person, request to extend the delivery date. You could do that. If it's on ACX, just a acknowledgement via, conversation via email is sufficient. Just whomever it is, reach out to them and tell them, hey, this, I need a couple extra days or whatever it is. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Brian Cross says, I'm wondering if you can offer advice on where to go for feedback regarding VO samples. I'm diving into ACX and man, oh man, am I my worst critic? Yes. Yes. Same. So relatable. We all are. Join a Facebook group. Mine, the VO workshop, I I encourage you to post demos there for feedback from everybody else in the group. So if that is something you're looking for, then check out my Facebook group, the VO workshop. That's a great place to do it. You'll have a lot of different opinions on things. Someone might hear something that someone else doesn't, something that maybe you're accustomed to that you don't hear yourself, right? If you're looking for feedback, that's what I would do. Joya says, tangents are many stories. We, the human population, learn through stories. So, yes, tangents, stories are expected from everyone. Okay, so I don't feel so bad about it. I'm just telling little stories. So I'm going to have to call them not tangents anymore. I'm going to have to call them, that's a mini story because Joya said so. So it is. It's a mini story. John Serrano Voices says, hey, Angela. Hey, John. I want to have an agent someday because I want to get roles in big time AAA video games, animation, and anime. And it's my understanding that an agent can get you those jobs. Absolutely. Agents can get you just about any job as long as they have access to those clients, right? There you go. Yes, that is one way to do it. Right Track says, should the 15-minute sample be emailed directly to the author or is there a link to upload them? After fee terms are accepted, does RH send contract through ACX site directly to produce? If we're working through ACX, if you go to the production tab, you upload the 15-minute sample there directly, and then the author will take a listen to it and see if there's anything that needs to be changed. That's basically what that's for, is just to get approval of pace and tone or character voices or whatever it is that you narrated. And then once they approve that and they're like, okay, great, this is perfect, this is exactly how I want it done, then you continue on with the rest of the book and then upload those to the site directly as well. But the contract will come to you. You'll usually get an email from ACX saying, hey, this person has sent you an offer. And then you go to the offer, either accept or decline. You have to say accept or decline to get to the page where you can actually view the contract. But take a look at the contract, make sure that the first 15-minute due date is doable for you, and that the completion of the entire audiobook time, like that time frame, is doable for you, and that the pay type and rate is doable for you. Make sure you look at all of that stuff. And then you can either accept it or decline it, or reach out to the rights holder and ask that something be changed. Hope that answers that question. MG Stevens says, you're being turned down by an agent would be their loss. I like that, MG. Just do it. That's right. Just do it. Just get out there and do it and record some stuff. Right? Jessica Kent says, I mean, for voiceover in anime and video games, yikes, more coffee. Yes. Yes. I mean, more coffee, period. Right? But I think you were referring to demo reels. Yes, you would definitely want to have a demo reel for any specific or niche, or I think any different type of style would require its own demo, because you never know when you're going to be asked for something specific. I guess you could always run into your studio and put something together for them. But if you already have them compiled and then like in a Google Drive, so if you're out and about or if you're at work or whatever it is, you can just send them, mobilely a demo. Does that make sense? Voiceover Van Deen says, think you missed a comment, or is it held? I'm not sure. I didn't see any. But also geographical location and availability to travel for in-studio recordings as required. They are the smallest source of work amongst those I know. I think that's also what I was thinking about starting locally for me, is that I could go into their studio if they needed me to. But that is another thing that Voiceover Van Deen brings up, that again, that goes back to just reviewing the contract and making sure that you understand it, right? As far as the exclusive, non-exclusive, if you are exclusive, where, the regions, if you're required to come into their studio at any time or any other studio that they have rented out for whatever if you can work remotely, or if you need to go out and travel to studios as needed. So review all of that stuff. Thank you for bringing up that point, Voiceover Van Deen. Great information and comments today, you guys. This was a great Q&A today. But I have got to run. I've got an appointment to get to. But I want to thank all of you for spending some time with me today. I look forward to seeing you all next week. So have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you then. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. If you have an extra moment, please feel free to leave a review. We'll see you next time.